Lucille Ball stood beneath the blazing studio lights of Stage 9 at Desi Studios, surrounded by cameras, cables, and familiar faces she had worked with for years. The audience was seated, the crew was ready, and another episode of I Love Lucy was underway. Then, in a single moment, everything stopped. One quiet sentence, spoken so softly that no microphone picked it up, reached Lucy's ear. Her body froze mid-performance. Her smile vanished. She grabbed the edge of the kitchen counter, the same heart-covered counter millions of Americans recognized instantly, and then, without warning, Lucille Ball collapsed to the soundstage floor in front of nearly 300 horrified witnesses. Gasps echoed through the studio. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't comedy. And it wasn't a medical emergency. This was the exact moment America's strongest woman heard a truth so devastating that her body simply could not hold her upright anymore. What happened next, what Desi Arnaz chose to do in the following 2 minutes, didn't just save a marriage. It saved a television legacy. To understand why those whispered words shattered Lucy so completely, we need to go back several hours, to a time when everything still looked perfect. It was a Thursday afternoon in 1955, and Stage 9 at Desi Studios was operating like clockwork. Crew members moved efficiently between cameras, stagehands adjusted lighting, musicians tuned their instruments, and the audience buzzed with excitement, thrilled to watch the #1 television show in America being filmed live. Lucille Ball, 44 years old, walked confidently onto the set. She wasn't just the star. She wasn't just the face of I Love Lucy. She was the co-owner of the studio itself. In an industry dominated by men, Lucy had claimed real power, ownership, authority, and control. I Love Lucy wasn't just popular, it was a national obsession. More than 40 million Americans tuned in every week. When Lucy gave birth to little Ricky on screen, more people watched that episode than watched the presidential inauguration. Families scheduled dinner around the show. Streets emptied. Radios went silent. Lucy and Desi Arnaz weren't just entertainers. They were America's favorite couple, and together they had built Desi Studios from the ground up, revolutionizing television production and changing the industry forever. To the outside world, their partnership seemed unbreakable, but behind the laughter something had begun to crack. Vivian Vance, Lucy's co-star and closest friend, noticed it first. For weeks, Lucy had been arriving earlier than usual and staying later, asking questions she had never asked before, questions about contracts, budgets, and bank statements. Normally, Lucy trusted Desi with the business side while she focused on performance, but now something felt wrong. Vivian saw the tension in Lucy's shoulders, the way her smile faded the moment cameras stopped rolling, and the way her eyes followed Desi across the soundstage when he wasn't paying attention. That morning in the dressing room, Vivian finally asked if she was okay. Lucy answered too quickly, saying she was fine and just wanted to make sure everything was running smoothly. It was the answer of someone who already suspected the truth but wasn't ready to face it. 3 hours into filming, the crew called for a short break. Lucy stepped off the set and reached for a cup of coffee. That's when her assistant, Margaret, approached her. Margaret's face was pale, her hands trembling. She leaned close to Lucy's ear and whispered 8 words that would change everything. The bank called. He's been hiding the truth. Lucy's hand began to shake. The coffee sloshed violently, spilling onto her dress, but Lucy didn't react. Her face drained of color as if the blood had been pulled straight from it. Her script slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a sharp sound that echoed through the suddenly quiet studio. Across the stage, Desi Arnaz laughed with the orchestra, completely unaware. Lucy tried to move toward him, but her legs failed. She reached for the kitchen counter, missed, and collapsed. At first, some audience members laughed, thinking it was part of the show. Lucy falling was nothing new, physical comedy was her trademark. But this was different. Someone screamed. The cameras stopped rolling. Crew members rushed forward as Vivian Vance dropped to her knees beside Lucy, calling her name. Lucy's lips moved, but no sound came out. Across the stage, Desi finally noticed. His laughter died instantly. For 3 seconds, he stood frozen, staring at his wife, his partner, the woman who had never broken, now crumpled on the floor. Most men in that moment would have panicked. Some would have shut production down immediately, others would have rushed Lucy away to protect their image, and many would have buried the truth behind closed doors. Desi Arnaz made a different choice. He crossed the soundstage in seconds and dropped to his knees beside Lucy, ordering someone to get water and call a doctor. He cradled her head gently and told her he was there. Lucy's eyes fluttered open, filled not with anger but with heartbreak. She whispered that he had lied, that the bank had called, and that she knew everything. The crew froze, the audience leaned forward, and Desi looked from Lucy to the 300 faces watching him. Then he did something Hollywood almost never did. He told the truth. He said she was right and admitted that he had lied. Shock rippled through the studio as he helped Lucy onto the set couch, their fictional living room now hosting a very real marriage crisis. He confessed that he had hidden the real financial state of Desi Studios, falsifying reports for months while trying to fix mistakes he had made. He said he thought he was protecting her, but he was wrong. The studio fell completely silent. Then Lucy spoke. Her voice was quiet, controlled, and powerful. She said she had known for 3 weeks and had hired her own accountant when the bank started calling. She knew about every failed deal and every lie. She stood up slowly, facing Desi as an equal, and said the money didn't destroy her because money could be fixed. What destroyed her was being shut out. She reminded him that they had built everything together and that he didn't get to decide she was too fragile for the truth. Then she told him what would happen next. They would fix everything together. No more secrets. Equal partners or nothing. Desi swallowed hard and agreed. Partners in everything. That night didn't end I Love Lucy. It saved it. Behind the scenes, contracts were rewritten and Lucy gained full financial authority. Monthly transparency became mandatory, and they even began marriage counseling, something almost unheard of in 1950s Hollywood. 3 weeks later, when Lucy returned to Stage 9, the entire crew stood and applauded, not for her comedy, but for her courage. Years later, Lucy would write that the night she collapsed wasn't her weakest moment, but the moment their partnership became real. Desi would later say he almost lost everything by trying to protect her from the truth and learned that Lucy didn't need protection, she needed partnership. Sometimes the truth, spoken out loud and in front of everyone, is the only thing strong enough to save everything.